I didn't hear you. What did you say? Sounds like aggressive.
Yeah.
Dude is obviously instigating something.
Yes.
And you gave him exactly what he wanted.
Yes.
And that's the thing I hated about it.
You've come up here for months, maybe years, talking about how the old that you used to do, you don't want to be known for that no more.
Y'all gonna be mad at me. We got to have our intervention later.
Okay. No, we have no intervention now. I'm just saying.
We gotta have it. Sorry. Sorry.
Queens Flip and Joe Budden are at it again. Yes, the two seem to be at odds, and while that has been pretty noticeable, Flip in general has been having an interesting time on the podcast. Over the last month, it appears like he's alluding to something that may be going on with him, but I'll let the clips talk for themselves.
I know her voice. How did it sound her voice?
Yeah, I know her for a long time since I was a kid.
You better sit down. Yeah, you still know the sound of girl's voice?
There's a lot of shit going on. I'll punch you in your face.
All right, I'm gonna chill.
You playing with my family?
No.
It's already. I know what the going on, but you lucky I respect you. I'm on a new leaf. I got some personal going on, but I'm watching you.
It even seems like when Flip got into that fight on his channel, things got a little dicey for his time on the Joe Budden podcast.
All right, but Joe, why'd you stop the Flip fight segment?
Because I didn't want to center Flip's fight.
For those of you that don't know, Queens Flip went to the Labor Day parade in New York City, and he ended up in a fight with a young man. Now, that fight looked pretty bad for Flip, but one has to wonder, why could it have been bad if he decided to release it? And his decision to release it might be an indication of where his head's at. Perhaps he should have never have done that. But then again, it did go a little bit viral. However, Flip would go on Twitter and say a couple things that I thought were interesting. One was, let me ask a question. I'm going through something personal. Do you guys expect the Joe Budden podcast to lay me off? Do you guys expect me to just take my anger out on my co-host? Please, let's be honest. Now, initially, this seemed like it could have been a shot at Melissa Ford. Remember, Melissa Ford has disappeared from the show, and there has been no commentary about why she's gone. There's been some interesting moments where they mention her. However, nobody is elaborating on what is happening. But Flip would follow up by saying this right here. This has nothing to do with Melissa Ford or anyone else. People said my energy feels off, and it is, but that's because I'm dealing with something personal. I'm handling it and moving forward, so don't read too deep into it. Now, Flip felt the need to do these tweets because people started to notice that on the last few episodes, he's gone completely ghost, silent, doesn't talk about anything, and he only speaks just enough so where it looks like he's doing his job, which is interesting because if he had an issue with the pod, you would think that he would just leave, but instead he's staying around collecting a check. Then, if you go to the podcast itself, you would see that Flip, when he tried to broach the conversation, he got shut down by Joe.
Yeah.
No, I don't have no beef with you.
It don't have to be beef. We can have a conversation. I think it's unfair to the listeners that you may start something. Yo, I'm going to let it simmer in and not shoot.
So that indicates that Joe does not like that Flip is fighting on his platform and then trying to take the mess to himself because he got shut down twice. So essentially, Joe Budden is saying, man, don't bring that drama over here. You come here unprepared. You don't have anything to add to topics. And it's noticeable now more than ever because you have no energy. Your energy used to be what brought this show to the next level. Now, what could Joe have done to make Flip feel disengaged? Well, I feel there's been a series of concessions that Flip felt he made. I mean, there was some type of monetary things. There was also some type of changes. And he probably expected to get rewarded. And Flip in general is a bit unprofessional. By that, I mean, like he expects Joe to hold him down because of their past days as friends or his connections to people in his family and whatnot. But that's not the type of person Joe Budden is anymore. And it's not even about a person. Joe has infrastructure. He has a corporation. He has Ian Schwartzman and a bunch of people that guard against Flip's approach to business, friendship, whatever, the friendship, business, homie deal that a lot of people like to make. Joe Budden will also tweet something out today that I thought was interesting, and it might give insights into Flip's current situation and the whole podcast in general. I love September. It's the Monday of months for me. It's an action month. Time to plan, prep, strategize, meditate, reflect, cleanse, reorganize, recalibrate, make tough decisions, face what you've avoided, make calls to people you love, people you haven't spoken to but need to, talk to your higher power in depth. The table you set in September will carry, feed, or destroy you the next year or a half. Like, okay, so that's interesting. Joe's doing some self-reflection. And while a lot of people are focusing on this tweet from Joe, I think there's a more important tweet that people are missing. And that tweet is from Ian Schwartzman. It's a big week. Let's get to it. Short words, but I think there's a possibility that these two may have met or have a conversation about what they want the rest of fourth quarter to look like. What are the odds that Melissa Ford would go through some type of crazy realization only for her to disappear right as we head to fourth quarter, which is a make or break month for a business? That's right. Fourth quarter is where a lot of businesses are looking to spend money. And if you are in flux, if you are not prepared to take advantage of that, then you could be in a bad situation in general. Plus, let's monitor Queen's Flip. All right, Queen's Flip, you're going through a lot. I hope that's the case, but it seems like you're doing mighty fine on Flip the Network. Are you using this situation to skirt your accountability to the Joe Budden Network? And is the Queen's Flip the Network brand making enough to supplement Joe Budden's brand? Because Joe Budden pays him. And the rumor is it's like $100,000 between $100,000 and $200,000. So while Flip the Network may generate a lot of income, there's a lot that goes into that, right? There's some YouTube channels, maybe like mine, that don't involve working with people. But Flip likes to make a brand of content that involves paying for a cameraman. Also, he has a crew of characters that he likes to bring in. That creates a lot of drama, a lot of tension, and might make things harder to execute. It's also no secret that Flip, in counter to Joe, does not have a real team. While he may have a couple people, he doesn't have his own Ian. He doesn't appear to have a real manager that takes care of things. He might have an accountant or a lawyer in case things go left. But as far as someone strategically working 24/7 or at least 7 hours a day to grow Flip's brand, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have a guy saying, don't do this deal, don't do that deal. Matter of fact, go over here, go over there. He did at one point when he was working with Ian, but that situation soured when Flip realized that Joe Budden's relationship with Ian will always be prioritized over his.
I didn't like the conversation that I had with the business partner of yours.
So not yours anymore.
No. When you that's true. That's true.
You have developed a relationship with this person outside of Joseph Anthony
and
Budden
I realized
or any of my companies or businesses.
When
you trusted someone to have your best interest at heart at all times.
True.
Now, as to how Flip deals with this, I don't really know because he's not too good when it comes to feedback, right? The reason Flip is not good with feedback is because if you give him feedback and it works, he feels like he thinks you took ownership over what he did. So he'd rather not listen to your advice, because if he does and it works, then you can play the card of, oh, I'm the one who helped Flip. And I think that's what happened with Joe. I think that's what happened with Ian. And another thing that's interesting about the Joe Budden dynamic is that Flip, it would appear to the listeners of the podcast, has taken a lot of sauce from Joe, right? The way he approaches business, his structure. He doesn't like to wild out as much. And the reason we know that is because Flip says it. He'll say, yo, Joe Budden put me on to things. There's a lot of things I didn't know about because of Joe Budden. But then the other side of the coin is that Joe Budden will never admit that Flip helped him out with things. He might say things like, yo, you took the show to another level. But he's not going to say, yo, Flip, the way you did this really increased the infrastructure of the business. I took a lot of that from you. I became Flip the Network. I became a lot of elements of what you planted. but he will never say that. So it creates this kind of mentor-mentee dynamic when the truth is there's two mentors. There isn't just one guy, right? Flip is a genius in his own regard. Joe isn't the only one that has game. Flip is a content creator. He can take somebody from the street and make them hot. That's a fact. He can do the same thing that Joe did to Ish and Ice. G Money, Shammy, Space, all of these people are linked to Flip. Now, I know there's a couple people you're like, Danny, but they didn't work. They also worked without Flip. But for some of those people, the most visible they've ever been is with Flip. Then there's the games that Joe and Ian like to play, right? The trick they did on Flip was diabolical. When Mark Lamont Hill arrived, they positioned it as, yo, he's bringing in the numbers. He's killing it. He's doing his thing.
Is it safe to say that the numbers have gone up since I've been here?
Put it this way. They haven't gone down. He's been helping. Have you checked Patreon numbers?
Okay. Do we ever get to see the Patreon numbers?
No.
However, we have to examine, did he bring in better numbers than Flip? There was a time Flip was going to wake it up on Mark. And look at this clip right here.
Yeah. What did you have to do to become be a manager?
They look this what do you got to ratings? Yeah.
Rating?
Yeah.
What you gotta do? What you gotta do?
Well, the numbers didn't.
Oh, you don't see the numbers.
No, I see the numbers.
Now, he didn't go all the way. He was about to let Mark know, like, yes, Mr. PhD, you're great. We all know that, but I got a YouTube channel. I got a Patreon. I know how to build a core audience. And I know how to take this podcast to the next level. When I got here, Flip, oh my God, I was big. Ish and Ice made it boring, and I made it hot again. And that's true. I mean, I think it's no secret that Ish and Ice plateaued and Flip came right in, but Ian and Joe are positioning Mark as some type of numbers getter, and what they're saying is that the Patreon went up. But nobody can see the Patreon numbers. Nobody can see how much the Patreon numbers grew once Flip got there. But Flip, the YouTube analyst he is, can say, when I got here, the YouTube numbers went up. And de facto wise, that means it's most likely that the Patreon numbers went up. But let me know what you think about this Cold War between Flip and Joe that now is becoming a hot war. Oh, expect Flip to sit a couple pods out, take a couple pods off, and this is with the specter of Melissa Ford herself disappearing. But we will have to see, is anybody else ready to step up? Ish and Ice have 4 years of never stepping up. If anything, Ish has digressed and become a worse podcaster. Well, Ice, I guess he's gotten better, but I think he's just been, more present, and people just are trying to give him pity votes. Will Manny be ready to step up? This is his time to shine, and we're going to have to see if he's ready. But I don't know. I mean, there's times where he looks ready, and there's times when he don't. Only time will tell. With that said, follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Patreon. There's a few Patreon episodes up there. There is the content I made on Spaces where I talked to Ian and Joe and Manny about the work culture at the Joe Budden Network in light of what's happening with Melissa Ford and even Flip. Then I even made a 23-minute breakdown of Blue to Luzma, who was the former co-host of I'm Here for the Food with Melissa Ford. And I think their relationship is very, very interesting. Fascinating stuff. It's all things we need to look in. Make sure you tap in with the Patreon. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.